Hey, and welcome to my channel about living in and moving to Denver, Colorado. If you are relocating to Colorado, or if you already live here and just looking for a different spot to be, we're going to be covering some of the top questions that you should be asking yourself, an agent, or maybe you already have these questions in the back of your mind. Let's get started. Martineau, also known as the Real Estate Gal. If this is your first time tuning into this channel, we are going to be covering all things living in and moving to Denver, Colorado and surrounding areas. So if you live here or are relocating, this is the channel for you. So I want you to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so that you get notified every time I release a video, which is twice a week. As mentioned, my nickname is Katie the Real Estate Gal, and I am a licensed real estate agent in this state. So if you need help with buying, selling, or anything in between, I'm your gal. My contact information is below, and I'd absolutely love to help you. Call, text, or email. I'm the one that answers the phone. All right, let's get into those most popular questions. Number one is, should I buy or rent? It kind of depends on your situation and what you're going through right now, what your goals are as well. If you are relocating from out of state and you're not familiar with the Colorado area, I'd always recommend visiting first, or if you are going to be moving here, getting a short-term rental and at least getting acclimated with the layout of Colorado and kind of uncovering and discovering the places that you want to be near. Do you want to be close to work so you have a really short commute? Do you want to be close to the mountains because you know you're going to be traveling there every single weekend? Or are school districts really important to you? So finding out exactly the area or pockets and neighborhoods that you want to be in is super important. And I wouldn't want you to be tied down to something just because it was within your budget or you found a good deal. But if you are comfortable with buying something sight unseen, or if you're familiar with the Colorado area, buying something completely virtual is an option as well. And that's going to be a second question we're going to address in just a second. One thing that I do want to highlight about rentals is that interest rates are a little bit higher than they were a couple years ago. People consider them high, but if you look at the last 30 to 50 years, they're relatively affordable. But then you take into account inflation and all sorts of other expenses, and Denver is not going to be the most affordable city. So in saying that, rental prices have been going up as well as home prices as well. And some people that were looking for a home prior are getting priced out because of the higher interest rates and the higher monthly payment, and they just can't afford it with their financial situation or their lifestyle. So in saying that, the demand for rentals is going up if you're looking for something a little bit more long-term. So keep that in mind. So maybe get a short-term rental until you get acclimated with Colorado, and then if your goal is to buy something, then that is when you can take the leap so that you're put into a good situation with location. All right, that second question is, can you buy a house completely virtual? Of course, with COVID, people are keeping their social distancing and there's a lot of work from home. And some people are still really cautious about going out in public, or maybe they just don't live in the state and they can't come out and see homes prior. We can do virtual contracts and even close on a home. I actually just closed a contract in December and the client never stepped foot in the home and they were comfortable with that. It just didn't work out with inspection or to see the home in person. So they did do the tour virtually, and the listing agent did some of the showings for the inspector and the final walkthrough. So many things can be done on a computer and a phone, as well as even for closing, because we do need those wet signatures for closings in Colorado. I'm sure that's in every state type of thing, but we have mobile notaries. So a notary can be sent to you no matter if you're in a different state or a different city. This particular person was in the hospital, and so they weren't able to leave the hospital in order to sign the papers. So the mobile notary went to them. It's a pretty affordable rate. It was like $150 or so, but it ended up being super convenient for the buyer, and we got all the documentation that we needed. I am happy to be as much of a resource as possible, but it can be done. The third question I get is, what are the next steps? I'm interested in buying, but I don't know if I want to buy in 3 months, 6 months, a year, a couple years. The first thing that I would recommend doing is hopping on a Zoom call or a phone call and starting to build that rapport and that trust. So that should be maybe 10 minutes just to kind of give backstory, and I can help guide in any way. But ultimately, I do want to do a Zoom call or face-to-face if possible. And then we can go over wants and needs and what your goals are, why you want to purchase the home. Is it your forever home? Are you turning it into a rental? Is it just the home for the next couple of years? That's really important because then we can have different strategies for setting up a home search, as well as when I contact the listing agent to try to get that home and negotiate on your behalf. There are different strategies that I can lean on. Another thing that we're going to be going over too is you might have this really glorified list of wants and needs, but I really want to dive in a little bit deeper as to why you want those things. So one of the examples I like to give is, if you're looking for a 3-bedroom house, are there 3 people that are going to be staying in those bedrooms? Do you have family visiting a lot of the time? Or are one of those bedrooms going to be used as an office? And why I like to ask that particular question is, what if your office was a loft instead? Or what if your office was a non-conforming bedroom? Would you be comfortable if we kept an eye on the square footage, but then put the minimum criteria as a 2-bedroom house? Then you can use a different area or space for your office. I just want to make sure that you're not missing out on an opportunity to get the house that you really want because the listing agent decided to label that bedroom as something else that might not be used for that intended purpose. There's all sorts of little tips and tricks. And also, I want to educate you on the home buying process and how I go about doing that and how thorough I am, so it makes you look like a rock star when we submit an offer on the property. So you got to reach out with my contact information, phone call, text, or email, whatever way is best for you, just to even start the conversation, and then allow me to follow up with you, and then we can start building that relationship and that trust. The fourth question I get a lot is, what area is best for me? Now, this is a little bit tricky, but as long as you let me know what your goals are, if you want to be close to work or close to the community center, or if you want acreage, then I can highlight a couple neighborhoods. If you've never been to Colorado, I can give some recommendations of where you should check out. And if you're able to come to Colorado, maybe even for a weekend, you can drive through those neighborhoods to make sure it has the right vibes and the right amenities and commuting time that you're looking for. Now, in terms of commuting, if there's a space that has a little bit more of an affordable home for your situation, the commute is a little bit longer. Is that a good trade-off versus paying a little bit more and being closer to where you're going to be commuting every day? So going over those wants and needs and those must-haves is super important. I have a lot of informational videos on my YouTube page about different neighborhoods that you can look at, but if you reach out to me, I can give an even more hyper-focused opinion on some places that you should check out. All right, fifth and final question is now a good time to buy? And I'm going to give the answer that I hate to give, but it depends on your situation. The reason being, interest rates, yes, they are a little bit higher, but there is a lot of negotiating power that some buyers are seeing in the market. If homes have been sitting on the market for a little bit longer and the seller really wants to sell, that seller might buy down your interest rate permanently or temporarily. They might give a concession credit in order to do that. As of Q1 of 2023, we are still in a seller's market with about a month's inventory. So that means there is one home per buyer out there. The buyer activity erupted a couple weeks before the Super Bowl and is still kicking hard. So if you are selling in Colorado, it's a great time to sell because we are starting to see those offers come in over ask price. And so those sellers are getting a little bit of extra money in their pocket as long as they're pricing the home correctly. There are different areas as well that are selling faster or have a higher demand than other areas. I have a really cool heat map of all sorts of different neighborhoods, and it shows if it's red, that means it is screaming hot. There's a lot of demand in that area and very little supply. And then there's some areas that are yellow or even light green where houses are staying on the market for 30 or more days. So the answer that I hate to give is it depends on your budget for the home price. Your budget for your monthly mortgage payment is really what is more important. The style of home, the location you desire, desire. Everybody's situation is a little bit different, but just keep in mind that there are still some areas that are appreciating at crazy high rates at 10 to 12 to even maybe 14% currently. And so if you wait to buy maybe 2 years from now, you're missing out on that large percentage of appreciation. Now, I can give a couple tips if you are looking in the year of 2023 of when to buy. Holidays are really great because a lot of people are preoccupied and not house searching, such as July 4th or Labor Day weekend. Or if you can wait until Thanksgiving or Christmas timeframe, November, December in the holidays. A lot of people set their goal as to host for the holidays, and then once the new year hits, then that's their New Year's resolution. They're ready to go and sell their house and look for a new one. So buyer demand naturally goes up in January, February, March kind of area. So if someone is selling during those holiday timeframes, that means they need to sell. They're either moving out of state or downsizing, upgrading, whatever, but they probably have an urgency. And that's when buyers can capitalize because the demand and the competition can be a little bit lower during those times. Also, another one is inclement weather. If there is a huge downpour or a snowstorm and the house is available to go see, not a lot of people like to go when there's inclement weather versus if it's really sunny and beautiful out. You definitely have to be careful, of course, on the road, but that can be an advantage and a time frame to capitalize on. I'd love to know what questions you have, so please comment below or send me a message and I can create another video on more popular questions that I'm seeing. And if you are thinking about relocating to Denver, I'd love to make it a smooth process for you. Please reach out with my contact information below. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button or that notification bell, please do so that you get notified every time I release a video, which is twice a week. Have a fabulous weekend, and I will see you next week on the next video.